أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أشهد أن علي ولي الله اللهم صل على محمد وآله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله اللهم صل على محمد حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم كما قال عز شأن كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه وكل نفس ذائقة الموت وقال كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعزب عنه ماس العباد في الخلوات سبحان الله الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في حكمه يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحمه من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين وخير المبشرين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى أوصيكم عباد الله بالاعتصام بالتقوى فإنه حبل متين وعروة مثقى فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وقل جاء الحق وزهق الباطل إن الباطل كان زهوقا صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Begin by advising myself and all of you to practice and adopt the taqwa of Allah as is the best of provisions. The verse that I recite is mashhur and ma'roof, ayat of Quran, Surah Bani Israel, ayat number 81, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. That say, truth has come and falsehood has departed. Indeed, is falsehood by nature ever bound to depart. Therefore, whenever you see something atrocious going on around you, globally, locally, know that if it is batil, and that's the reason of this atrocious nature, then it is bound to depart. It is not going to stay forever. It will eventually be extinguished. And that is the case when it comes to the world conflicts that we also look upon. As we see, we are into 6 months into the conflict in Gaza, and how the world is now beginning to see the reality, which of course, as Muslims, we knew for the past 75 years. And the atrocities are not something which are recent, but they have been these war crimes and genocide happening for the past 7 decades. But nonetheless, the prolonging of this incident, while it is devastating on the people of Palestine, it is indeed an eye-opener for many who just did not care much about this conflict from the past or did not look at it from this critical perspective. And now, of course, when it had prolonged for such a long time, it is opening eyes. And so we read this ayat and say, truth has come and falsehood has departed. Indeed, falsehood by nature is ever bound to depart. We are on the cusp of these great nights known as the Layali al-Qadr, the nights of Qadr, and for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we revealed this Quran on the night of Qadr. Laylatul Qadr khayrum min alfi shahr. This night is superior to 1,000 months, meaning the importance that is mentioned in relation to these nights is something which should not be taken for granted. And many a time you hear a hadith which highlights the importance of an action and says you get the thawab of, for example, 100 houses in paradise, or you get the reward of something which is, beyond imagination, and you look at it and you take it for granted sometimes. But this is not a hadith which you can pose a question to. This is an ayat of Quran which clearly states that Laylatul Qadr khayrum min alfi shahr. The night of Qadr is superior, better than 1,000, not days, not nights, not weeks, rather 1,000 months. And that is equal to some 83 and a half years. And that's a long lifespan for any individual. Rarely do you see that people get to live that long. And if you are lucky enough to be that old, you realize what you have achieved in these 85, 84 years of your life. And of course, with all the experience that is there, this night is night to gain all that. This night is night to achieve all of that in that mere moment, which is considered to be the night of Qadr. So for that, inshallah, we are all prepared from tonight, and inshallah, the night of 21st, and inshallah, the night of 23rd, and even beyond that, the night of 25th, the night of 27th, and the night of 29th, as all of the 10 nights in the last 10 days of the month of Ramadan are considered to be, any one of them could be the nights of Qadr, Layali al-Qadr. Use this opportunity, worship and pray and ask for your hajat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on all of these nights. Don't just specifically draw into one night in particular, but have it for the entire 10 days or these odd nights that I mentioned in the Kalam of Ma'asumin. With that said, the discussion that I wanted to have is we can further and we can give value to this ibadat of ours when it's done with understanding, and when it's done with consideration, and when it's done with ma'rifat, right? When an action is done with proper understanding, it has a different value as opposed to an action which is done accidentally or without much thought put into it. So when you do something and you put your thought into it and you plan it, of course, there's a different value to it. Similarly, you hear this all the time in the ziyarat, right? When you go for the ziyarat of Ma'asum, bihaqqi ma'rifatihi, with the proper ma'rifat of that imam, that ziyarat, of course, has a different value whatsoever. Other than that, people every single day, flock of people, hundreds and thousands of people come, cross in front of the zari of Rasulullah, cross in front of the zari of Aimma Athar, and they won't gain the same recognition and they won't gain the same spirituality as opposed to the one who goes to the ziyarat of Rasulullah bihaqqi ma'rifati, with the ma'rifat of Rasulullah, with the proper recognition and understanding that who is it that he is standing in front of. So with that said, we of course need to raise the bar for ourselves as well, especially in these nights of Qadr. Listen, understand what is at stake, and then enter into it with that proper understanding. Now, of course, one of the things that can help you in this regard is to have taqwa, of course, being pious in this regard. In regards to muttaqeen, Amirul Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib ﷺ mentions one of the features of a muttaqi, a pious individual, Imam says, وَلَا يَدْخُلُ فِي الْبَاطِلِ وَلَا يَخْرُجُ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Look at the ayat of Quran that I recited for you, that Ja'al haq was a haq al-batil. Inna al-batila kana zahuqa. Imam says what? وَلَا يَدْخُلُ فِي الْبَاطِلِ وَلَا يَخْرُجُ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Muttaqi is someone who does not enter into anything that is batil and who does not come out of anything that is haq. That is the definition that Imam has given as far as the one who's Imam al-Muttaqeen, the one who's the Imam of those who are the pious and Muttaqeen. So that is his explanation of it. Pious focus, their focus, because of their focus, on immense taqwa, and that is something which is the area of their study, do not get strangled into falsehood. So many opportunities that arise for us as well, where we have the opportunity to not give in, and sometimes willingly or unwillingly we end up and we are strangled. Have you heard this? Wrong place at the wrong time. What happened? Wrong place at the wrong time. Why doesn't it happen to everyone? Usually you were at the wrong place to begin with. That's why wrong time came about as well. So if there's something that is in your control, is to avoid being at that wrong place, so that there's never going to be that wrong time for you. So it's not like you were completely helpless in this regard. There was part of it which was in your control, which you neglected. So where we see that whenever a situation poses this threat to them, they hold on to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fast. The Quran is the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ahlul Bayt are the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as long as you are holding on to these ropes, the more the strings, the stronger this rope will be. Whatever the book of Allah considers truth, pious, consider it to be truth as well. Whatever the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considers to be batil, the pious also consider that to be batil as well. We don't have a separate definition of haqq, and we don't have a separate definition of batil, aside from that definition which Quran has provided for us. So here are a few examples of that which Quran considers to be haqq in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number one, Allah calls himself to be haqq. He says, ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقِّ. That is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is haqq and truth and reality for you. فَتَعَالَ اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ الْحَقِّ. So exalted is Allah, true sovereign, and He is the truth. There isn't any other reality. All the attacks on the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the concept that is spreading of atheism and people who are now agnostics who are denying the wujud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. First and foremost, Quran tells us if there is any haqq, if there is any reality, if there is any truth, there's nothing more truthful and realistic than the wujud of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you believe in that, everything else will inshallah fall in its place. Number two, the creation of the skies and the earth, Allah considers everything in between them to be haqq as well. That is also reality. You cannot doubt that. Which says what? وَمَا خَلَقْنَا السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. That whatever is between the heavens and the earth, the skies and the earth, and in between all of that is something which is considered to be haqq and truth and reality from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So He created all of this, and this is not just one place. Many places in the Quran, Allah talks about that which exists between the heavens and the earth. أَوَلَمْ يَتَفَكَّرُوا فِي أَنفُسِهِمْ مَا خَلَقَ اللَّهُ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا بَيْنَهُمَا إِلَّا بِالْحَقِّ. That everything that Allah has created between the heavens, have you not thought, have you not pondered over it, have you not given consideration to this? How is it that you sometime pay attention to things that are very mundane, but then when it comes to things that are beyond your ability, that's why Allah poses this question to many of these jababir, or the tyrant rulers of the time, by saying, what? If you think that you can create something, then go ahead and create this fly, this bug that bugs you, that's just buzzing around you. If you think you're capable, go ahead and create this. Now, of course, today, robots and all these things are being created to do many of the duties. But again, the mind and the thought process and that which exists in the functioning of this fly, if you open it up, which contains a heart, which contains a full digestive system, it has a vision, has hearing, has ability to fly, has all those things that are meticulously placed, and the intricacies of this fly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go ahead and create one if you can. Of course, you will not be able to do so, and that is the reality behind the Creator who created even this small fly which you are incapable of recreating. So that is haqq for you. Raising the prophets. When Allah sent these prophets, what was the maqsad and the reason behind it? The maqsad and the reason behind it was to uprise and to bring about the haqq and reality. Because sometimes you and I, when we are busy with the lives of ours, we don't see the reality. Someone has to show us the real picture. Who better than those who are messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us a clear picture? And that's why it says, لَقَدْ جَاءَتْ رُسُلُ رَبِّنَا بِالْحَقِّ. Indeed, our Lord's messengers came with the truth. Either they came with the truth, meaning what? They brought the truth with them. What were they saying? What was the first and the basic command of any of the Anbiya? All the Anbiya that came, the first and foremost thing that they said, don't worship these idols that you have created. Worship the Rabb that has created you. Who would you worship? Those idols that you have created with your own hands, or the Rabb that has created you? This was the basic command that every Nabi came to provoke the minds of those who are living in this delusion. Number 4, descent of the divine scriptures is also considered to be haqq in the sight of Allah. So, أَنزَلَ مَعَهُمْ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ, and He sent down with them the book with the truth. Tonight, tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, 21st night, the 23rd night, the 25th night, the 27th night, all of these nights are considered to be the nights of Qadr. Why? Laylatul Qadr. Why? Inna anzalnahu fi Laylatul Qadr. Because we reveal this Quran on the night of Qadr. So when Quran is revealed on that night of Qadr, that night is given that special status, Layali al-Qadr, then it is considered to be better than 1,000 months. And that is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what is being revealed on that night is also haqq. This Quran which is coming down onto you. Another thing which is considered to be haqq in the sight of Allah in Quran, death and the intoxication of death. When it says, وَجَاءَتْ سَكَرَةُ الْمَوْتِ بِالْحَقِّ, that indeed the intoxication of death will bring the truth. If you come to the conclusion, and I'll look at all of these things, cry, prelude of Qayamat, when you hear Yawma Yasma'una as-Sayha, when you hear the sound, and when you look at the Qayamat and the sovereignty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that day, and all of these things, scales and the balancing, the wazn and mizan, the promises and the covenant, all of these things are considered to be haqq from Quranic perspective. Where have you heard these things? When you're hearing the talqeen, when you place a dead body into the grave, and you're giving them their last rituals and you're speaking to them, what are you telling them? أَنَّ اللَّهَ حَقٌّ وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ آتِيَةٌ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا وَأَنَّ الْمَوْتَ حَقٌّ وَأَنَّ النُّشُورَ حَقٌّ وَالصِّرَاطَ حَقٌّ وَالْمِيزَانَ حَقٌّ وَتَطَايُرَ الْكُتُبِ حَقٌّ. All of these things are haqq. You hear that talqeen. Guess what? Where this talqeen comes from is comprised of all of these ayat put together, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created all of these things based on haqq and reality, and there isn't any falsehood or batil in them. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So anyone who has faith in any of these things, he is also believing on haqq, and anyone who steers away from it is part of Ahlul Batil and the people of the falsehoods. Sixth Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, coming back to that taqwa that we were speaking of, that these nights indeed require us to be muttaqi. That when we enter into this night worshipping, we got to come clean and we got to come with taqwa in us. Imam says what? Taqwa is a water which comes out from a pond of the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Every bit of knowledge and certainty requires taqwa. On the contrary, batil is that which takes insan away from the qurb of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and there's no doubt that it's repulsive nature. So when you want to seek the nearness, what is the purpose behind all these ibadat? What is the reason that we will be standing up at night time and doing this worship, even if it's a weekday and tomorrow we have to go to work? What is the reason that we're emphasizing a great deal on it? Why? Because this is a special night and we want to attain qurbatan ilallah, qurbi Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With this qurb, you need to enter with the heart. That qurb comes with your heart, right? It's not going to come with your physical being. It's that with the heart of yours. So how do you want to bring this heart to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? You want to bring this heart in the state that is fearful and is afraid and is muttaqi as well. A person from Sham sent by Muawiyah came to Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salatu wasalam and said that King of Rome has asked Muawiyah a question which he is unable to answer, so I have come to ask you. فَقَالَ الشَّامِ كَمْ بَيْنَ الْحَقِّ وَالْبَاطِلِ. What is the distance between haqq and batil? Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba responded by saying, بَيْنَ الْحَقِّ وَالْبَاطِلِ أَرْبَعَ أَصَابِعِ. The difference between haqq and batil is the 4 fingers. And he pointed like this. 4 fingers are the difference. فَمَا رَأَيْتُهُ بِعَيْنِكَ فَهُوَ الْحَقِّ. Whatever you see with your eyes is haqq. وَقَدْ تَسْمَعُ بِأُذْنَيْكَ بَاطِلًا كَثِيرًا. And what you hear from your ears, the hearsay, is many a time is batil. Imam did what? He placed his hand on his cheek like this. He said, this is the distance between haqq and batil. Haqq and batil. That's the distance between the two. And that is the answer that person. In other way, what Imam is saying, when he mentions this, batil is when you say, I have heard this. I've heard this. Yes, this is true. When you say, I have heard this, and haqq is that when you say, no, I have seen it with my own eyes. لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمِ ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا أَيْنَ الْيَقِينَ. That they will see the Jahannam, and most surely they will see it with their own eyes. So يَعْتَرِفُ بِالْحَقِّ قَبْلَ أَنْ يُشْهَدَ عَلَيْهِ. He admits truth before evidence is brought against him. So make sure that we realize the difference and the distance between haqq and batil in this regard. And we don't jump to a conclusion right away when a case is brought in front of us, just merely because someone is providing these proofs. You got to be open to listen to the other side as well in order to understand what is the distance between haqq and batil is. Pious know, if they are convicted in a conflict and face damages, these are worldly and materialistic damages. If I, God forbid, have committed something which is batil, and I'm convicted of that, I'm ready to face, and I should not, try to use my position and try to use manipulation to get away from it. Why? A pious person thinks that these are all worldly and materialistic damages, and it is better than the damages of the hereafter. I'd rather face the damages here than wait it out eventually when I'll have to face it in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is always a better opportunity, it's always a better choice to face the damages in this life than to delay facing the damages in the hereafter. And secondly, similarly, it is always a good choice to delay receiving the benefits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this life than receiving the benefits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the hereafter. That's why when you make dua and sometimes your dua is not answered, second Imam again responded to this when a person asked, how come is my dua not being responded? Imam said, your dua is responded. Allah has given you something which you deserve. But sometimes Allah delays giving it to you, and sometimes Allah gives you the compensation in the hereafter. Someone might say, what do I need in the hereafter? I'd rather have it over here. I need $100 right now. I need it right here. I need $100,000 right now. I need it here. Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given it to me over there? He said, well, you get away from the damages in this life by what Allah is keeping for you in hold over there is definitely going to be beneficial. Why? Materialistic life. Few days that you're here. This is something which is bound to annihilation, but that is the eternal abode, and you'll need every single penny over there. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That's why fifth Imam emphasized when he said, Isbir ala isbir nafsaka ala al-haqqi fa innahu man mana'a shay'an fi haqqin u'tiya fi batili mithlay. Be patient in the path of truthfulness. Indeed, the one who abstains from spending in the path of truth ends up spending twice as much in the path of evil. So many opportunities that are provided for you, and this is not planned, so it just comes in between as I prepare these lectures, or when I talk about some of these things that come up spontaneous. That when you have the opportunity to spend on haqq, and haqq is begging you that spend on me, use me, utilize me, this is haqq written all over it. But then you say, well, no, I'll keep it and I'll use it for something else. When you don't want to spend it on haqq, you end up spending on batil. And not only just you spend on batil, you spend twice as much on batil. So therefore, from the very beginning of the month of Ramadan, we've been asking you to spend here, spend on this, spend on these nights, these days, and on this institution, whether it be mosque, whether it be the school, whether it be this institution entirely, or whether it be any other institution that you attend. And spend. Why? This is haqq. There's no doubt about it being haqq. I may not be on haqq, but the place itself which is functioning is on haqq. It's the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, you have this opportunity in front of you, and this hadith of Imam triggers that. Isbir nafsaka ala al-haqqi. Why? Because if you don't do sabr on this, you'll end up spending on areas which is twice as much and will be batil, especially when it's contradictory to your beliefs. It says, Isbir ala mararatil haqqi wa iyyaka wa an tantakhadi'a li halawatil batil. Be patient over the sourness of reality. So, well, money is being taken away from me. That is difficult for me. So that's a sour taste that you develop sometimes. He said, be patient over the sourness of reality and don't fall victim to the sweetness of batil. Because batil will always be sweet. It'll always taste better than haqq. But you have to swallow this pill. You have to take it. Why? In the longer run, it'll be sweeter for you. Fifth Imam, and I'll conclude with this, Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salatu wasalam said that at the time of my father's death, he brought me near and said, oh my son, I want to advise you what my father, Hussein ibn Ali, advised me. What he did at the time of his death. And likewise, what his father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, advised him just before his martyrdom. So this is a hadith which Imam, this is a golden chain. He said, what I heard from my father, who heard from his father, who heard from Amir al-Mu'mineen. Ya bunayya, isbir ala al-haqqi wa in kana murran. Oh my son, be patient upon reality, even if it is sour. Yes, and reality might be sour at times. So how important is this message? That three Imams uttered these words at the time of their death. Now there are other instructions that Imams have given, but this is something which they gave in the ear of their children. How important, especially when you look at the situation Imam Ali was in the time of his death. He is struck by the sword, and we will be listening to the maqtal of Imam Ali, inshallah, in these nights to come. Similarly, Imam Hussein, who's about to enter this maqtal gah in Karbala, and to have this ability before the last few moments to give these words of advices to their children. We read in the narration that a man came to our sixth Imam and asked about an issue he wasn't satisfied with. Many times, same thing happens. People come, and no comparison between us and Imams, but people come and asking us, the Imam Jamaat, the questions. Maulana, we have this problem. Maulana, this is a question that I have. Person came and asked Imam, guess what? He was not satisfied with the answer Imam gave. This is a lesson for all the leaders. That if your answer is not satisfactory to the liking of the people, don't worry about it. Imam's answer did not satisfy the individual either. So if Imam's answer is not satisfying someone, then Pesh Imam's answer may not satisfy someone either. So don't worry about it. Imam said to him, he wasn't satisfied with the answer Imam gave him. It wasn't according to his liking. He showed displeasure and annoyance. Imam said this, Ya hada, isbir ala al-haqqi fa innahu lam yasbir ahadun qattu ala al-haqqi illa awwadahu Allahu ma huwa khayrun lahu. Oh man, be patient over reality. Even if this is going against you, you asked for istikhara, it came out negative. Why? Well, you shouldn't have done istikhara then. I was so looking forward to it. It went against you. So he says, be patient, show patience in front of the reality. Indeed, a person who shows patience, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace the distress with khair for him. So this distress that you receive after showing patience on haqq and avoiding batil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will replace this with what? Something that pleases you later on. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this regard to give us a tawfiq and ability to be able to always side with haqq and to always be able to say no to what is batil. Inna ahsan al-hadith wa ablagh al-mawidha kitabullah a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim wal asri innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilus salihat wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحليم الكريم غافر الذنب وقابل التوب وهو الغفور الرحيم سبحان من سبقت رحمته غضبه مبسط اليدين بالرحمة سبحان من لم يكلف نفسا إلا دون وسعها فعن السيئات ولم يجاز بها سبحان من لا يزداد على معصية العباد إلا كرم وجودا وعلى كثرة الذنوب إلا عفوا وصفا نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو لطوف على العباد بجوده ولفظ المظلمين بعلمه ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه والسيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين. لقد أمركم الله في محكم كتابه بالصلاة على نبيه وحبيبه فقال تعليما لكم وتشريفا لسفيه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وقائد غر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وسلم على سيدة النساء العالمين وبذة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء وعلي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام. اللهم صل على مولانا صاحب الزمان ما هي آثار البدع والطغيان هادم ابن الشرك والنفاق حاسد فروع البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام اتصلت الليالي والأيام. اللهم عجل فرجا وسهل مخرجا وقل ناظرنا بنظرة منا عليه وجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه والتفضل على أمرائنا المؤمنين بمزيد التوفيقات وازدياد الإقبال وعلو في الدرجات. اللهم افعل بنا ما أنت أهله ولا تفعل بنا ما نحن أهله بجاه محمد وآله المعصومين صلوات الله عليهم أجمعين. ممن يذكر فتنفع ذكر ان الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. Just a reminder, a lot of people here that Salatul Jummah, 2 rakat, inshallah we'll have qunut in both rakat. In the first rakat we'll have qunut regularly after the 2 surahs. In the second rakat we'll have qunut after the ruku. So make sure that you follow along. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadar Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan wa awladahu al-ma'sumina hujajullah. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يسبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض الملك القدوس العزيز الحكيم. هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. ذلك فضل الله يؤتيه من يشاء والله ذو الفضل العظيم. مثل الذين حملوا التوراة ثم لم يحملوها كمثل الحمار يحمل أسفارا بئس مثل القوم الذين كذبوا بآيات الله والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. قل يا أيها الذين هادوا إن زعمتم أنكم أولياء لله من دون الناس فتمنوا الموت إن كنتم صادقين ولا يتمنونه أبدا بما قدمت أيديهم والله عليم بالظالمين. قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله وذروا البيع ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. فإذا قضيت الصلاة فانتشروا في الأرض وابتغوا من فضل الله واذكروا الله كثيرا لعلكم تفلحون. وإذا رأوا تجارة أو لهوا انفضوا إليها وتركوك قائمة قل ما عند الله خير من اللهو ومن التجارة والله خير الرازقين. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربنا وآتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار بجاه محمد وآله الأطهار. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمد رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. ربنا افرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين بجاه محمد وآله الطاهرين. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح جناب فاطمة الزهراء سلام الله عليها. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. All of us together. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة لابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Let's quickly announce a few programs that are upcoming this week. Of course, tonight being the first night of Qadr program, we'll start with the Majlis of the Zarbat al-Famam. Program is as follows. 6:30 we'll start with our regular program with group Quran recitation and Dua Iftitah, followed by Salatul Maghriban. So we will inshallah do both of the prayers, Maghrib and Isha together. And then we'll go for Iftar. And then after that, inshallah, we'll start with the Majlis in Hazrat Abu Talib Hall in commemoration of the Zarbat of for Amir al-Mu'mineen. After this Majlis, we will have the Amal right here. Of course, on the first night and the second night, we have brief Amal, about 45 minutes long program. So we'll come back here, and inshallah, we'll have the Amal. Tomorrow, Saturday, March 30th, program will be a little bit different in a sense that there won't be any Amal afterwards, but everything else remains the same. That we'll have Quran, Dua Iftitah, Maghriban together, and then Iftar, followed by, inshallah, Majlis Aza. This will continue, inshallah, on Sunday as well. Sunday's Majlis is the Shab-e Shahadat, so we will have the Tabut brought out on that night as well. And then it'll be followed by the Amal back here of Shab-e Qadr. And then the last Majlis of this series will be on Monday, which will be the day of Shahadat. That Majlis, inshallah, will take place before Maghrib. So 6:30 when the program starts, instead of group Quran recitation and dua, we'll go right to the Majlis and conclude by Maghriban, which will be around 7:40, and then followed by Iftar and Dua Iftitah afterwards. So this is for the few nights that are coming up. Email was sent out as well in regards to this. And then the night of 23rd, which will be Tuesday, April 2nd, 23rd of Ramadan, eve of 23rd of Ramadan. Same program starts at 6:30, but inshallah we will be here all night long, in Ibadat. So these are a few programs that are inshallah coming up. Similarly, for children, this year we've had a lot of activities for them, especially on Fridays and Saturdays. So when you do bring your kids, make sure that you can direct them to the right place so that they're not wandering around and roaming around the building by themselves. So Al-Mahdi workshops for children, Kids Amal, book club, all of that is happening Friday and Saturday. When you come, you can contact Brother Masjid-e-Ali Dina or any one of the volunteers, and they'll guide you as to where to take your kids. Along with that, how to learn Dua Iftitah. There's a book club that happens after the program. Kids Amal, especially for the kids so that they understand better what this Amal that we're doing, what is the purpose behind it. So I think it's a good opportunity for them to be part of that. These are as far as the announcements are concerned. Of course, ongoing announcements that we've been doing is in regards to the ACH program that we have embarked on this journey that inshallah in the month of Ramadan we'll achieve our goal. A simple process. You give us your blank check, not with without any money on it. No, you write us how much you want to donate on monthly basis and give it to one of the treasurers, and they'll conveniently pull that money out of your account on monthly basis without any hassle or any worries about it. So you can start from the minimum, whatever you want. There's no minimum cap to it, and of course there's no maximum either. You can go as high as you want. And monthly ACH program gives you that comfort that of course the programs here run smoothly. We don't have to ask you regularly, and all the bills are paid and taken care of, and you're receiving these services that are being offered from burial to banquet halls to full-time school to Sunday school to all the other activities that are happening. It is due to your generous contribution. So do make a generous contribution, especially in these few nights that are coming up. Laylatul Qadr khayrum min alfi shahr. So every act of charity that is done, of course, you get the reward of 83 years, 1,000 months. Inshallah, with that in mind, and of course, there are many people who are already on this ACS. So like, why are you telling me? Well, what we're telling you is so that you can increase. If you're already donating, let's say $100 a month, make it 110 in the name of Imam Ali, for example, right? Or gift matching. Sure, yeah. I don't want to give misinformation.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Many of you who work for companies, they have gift matching, meaning that if you donate $100, they will match $100. Sometimes they match it twice. So if you could kindly ask your company whether or not they have gift matching program, and all you have to do is that we'll provide you the Sadiq School EIN number, because they usually do not give to the religious organization, but they're okay with school. And you basically double or maybe triple your donation. And it's automatic, you don't have to worry about it. They just deduct from your paycheck every month, and they will send it to our school. Thank you so much.
All right, with that, start up Q&A. Saturday and Sunday, inshallah, we will have Salatul Fajr at 6 a.m., inshallah. Let's proceed with dua for those who are suffering, struggling, going through difficult time. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them out of their difficulties. Let's recite this ayah karima from Surah Namal together 5 times. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amman yujibu al-mustarra idha da'ahu yakshifu as-su. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه يكشف السوء 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 ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. Yes. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan waliyullah. Ashhadu anna Aliyan hujjatullah. Hayya as-salati, hayya as-salah. hayya al-falah, hayya al-falah. هيا على خير العمل هيا على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع الله لمن حمد الله أكبر سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده الله أكبر الحمد لله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد بحول الله وقوته. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم ويقعد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. يا لطيف ارحم عبدك الضعيف. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. تسبيح. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا علي يا عظيم يا غفور يا رحيم. أنت الرب العظيم الذي ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. وهذا شهر عظمته وكرمته وشرفته وفضلته على الشهور. وهو شهر الذي فرضت صيامه علي. وهو شهر رمضان الذي أنزلت فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. وجعلت فيه ليلة القدر وجعلتها خيرا من 1000 شهر. فيا ذا المن ولا يمن عليك من علي بفكاك رقبتي من النار في من تمن عليه وادخلني الجنة برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Mutawajjih ziyarat today recited the Rizwan Maulana Mushkil Imam al-Muttaqin Qatil al-Mushrikeen. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum ya Nabi ya Rasulullah ya Muhammad Syed al-Mursalin Syed al-Awwalin Syed al-Akhirin. Assalamu alaikum ya Amir al-Mu'minin wa Yusuf ad-Din wa Qaid al-Ghurr al-Muhajjalin. Assalamu alaikum ya Bab Allah ya Ain Allah Nazira wa Idul Basita wa Uznal Wa'ita wa Hikmat al-Baligha wa Nikmat as-Sabiga wa Nikmat ad-Damiga. Assalamu ala Qasim al-Jannati wa an-Nar. Assalamu ala ni'mati al-Abrar wa ni'matul lil-Fujjar. Assalamu alayka Sayyid al-Muttaqin al-Akhyar. Assalamu ala akhi Rasulullah wa ibn ammi wa zawj ibnati wal makhluq min tinatihi. Assalamu ala al-asl al-qadim wal far al-karim. Assalamu ala samr al-jali. Assalamu ala bil hasan aliyin. Assalamu ala shadrat al-tuba wa sidrat al-muntaha. Assalamu Adam wa sifatullah wa Nuh nabiyillah wa Ibrahim khalilullah wa Musa kalimullah wa Isa ruhullah wa Muhammadan habibillah wa man bayna min an-nabiyyin was-siddiqin wa ash-shuhada'i was-salihin wa husna ulaika rafiqan. Assalamu ala nur al-anwar wa salil al-adhar wa nasir al-akhyar. Assalamu alayka ya walit al-aimat al-abrar. Assalamu alayka ya habl al-matin wa jamb al-makin wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaykum ya ahlul bayt munawwar jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaykum sahib al-asr wa zaman ya khalifat ar-rahman ya mazhar al-iman ya qabat al-iman ya tafsir al-furqan. Assalamu alaykum sharik al-Quran. Assalamu alaykum ya imam zamanana ajjallahu farajak wa sahlahu mahrajak.